One part of the Naruto lore that's always been a bit convoluted across the fanbase was the death of the second Hokage and his encounters with the Gold and Silver brothers as well as the Ginkaku Unit. The former was stated to have left him on the brink of death and the latter just outright killed him. The confusion lies in whether each was a separate event or if both were actually the same event, and that Kishimoto retconned the Ginkaku unit to become Ginkaku of Gin and Kin, because it's quite the coincidence that the platoon named after Ginkaku would go ahead and attack the second Hokage just like Ginkaku did. So what was the Ginkaku unit? Why did they target Tobirama? And what was the relationship between them and the Gold and Silver brothers? Were Ginkaku and Kinkaku part of that squad? And was there any retcon behind all of this? A lot of questions to tackle. That's why I'm here to answer them to the best of my ability. Now, the thing about Tobirama's encounters with both the Ginkaku unit and the Gold and Silver brothers is they're not really heavily expanded on in the original materials. I couldn't even find a single databook entry that talked about his death, so that leaves a lot of room for interpretation and, dare I say, headcanon, fill in the gaps of what truly went down. So let's go over the source material that we are provided. The second Raikage would follow the first's aspirations and form a political alliance between the Hidden Leaf and the Hidden Cloud. However, this peace summit would not unfold so peacefully, and Ginkaku and Kinkaku would ambush both the Hokage and the Raikage, part of a coup d'etat that they were staging. We know that they drove the second Hokage to the brink of death, and that this event is what led to their notoriety as the most infamous criminals in the history of the Cloud. We don't actually know if the assault killed the second Raikage. Some people assume that it did, and that's why they were so notorious in Kumogakure, but I feel like had they killed the Raikage, then we probably would have been told that verbatim. Plus, launching an attack on the Raikage is enough to become infamous, regardless of whether that attack resulted in his death or not. And that's all we know about the first encounter. However, believe it or not, many actually think that this was the one and only encounter that Ginkaku and Kinkaku had with Tobirama, and that the brothers weren't even a part of the Ginkaku unit that carried out the second assault, since the only connection between them and Ginkaku is the shared name. Other than that, there's nothing to link the Ginkaku unit with the Gold and Silver brothers. Well, maybe except for the fact that they originated from the same village and that they both targeted the second Hokage. The main piece of evidence that these people cite is the English Viz translation of the manga. Ginkaku states, "Snared by the second Hokage even though we defeated him." So if we were to take this statement to assume that Ginkaku thinks that Tobirama is still alive and him and his brother had just wounded him in the past, then he couldn't have possibly been a part of the Ginkaku unit, right? Since they killed Tobirama. Another point that I've heard brought up, when Tobirama sensed the Ginkaku unit, he noted 20 highly skilled shinobi, but he didn't mention 2 of them being out of the ordinary and possessing the Nine Tails chakra. Tobirama is one of the best sensory ninja of all time. You'd think he'd recognize them and say something along the lines of, "Oh, these 2 possess the Nine Tails chakra and are far more dangerous than the other 18, or I've faced these 2 shinobi before." All we do know about the Ginkaku force is that it was a group of 20 highly skilled ninja somehow affiliated with the Hidden Cloud, and that they tracked down Tobirama's squad, presumably when they were on their way back from a mission. Now there's the question of why this random squad from the Cloud would be repping the name of some criminals that attacked the Raikage. Well, there's a couple of theories as to why. Theory A. The Ginkaku unit was a mercenary group tasked by the Cloud's council to hunt down Gin and Kin, and that's why they have the name Ginkaku. After they attempted to kill the second Raikage, it's likely that Gin and Kin deserted the village, and logically, you'd assume that the Cloud would assign their Ambu to hunt down the brothers. My problem with this theory is, if that were the case, why would they target and kill the second Hokage? I'd imagine that something like that would trigger a full-scale war between the Leaf and the Cloud. so unless the third Raikage wanted the smoke, I don't see why he'd approve of such a task. Theory B is that the Ginkaku unit comprised of a group of cloud ninja that held Ginkaku, and probably Kinkaku, to a high regard, so much so that they adopted his name and even followed his will by finishing off the job and killing the second Hokage. You have to remember that many rogue ninja can develop a following, like Orochimaru for example, and that Ginkaku and Kinkaku were making a political statement by attacking the Hokage and the Raikage during the attempted peace summit. So it's possible that some of the cloud ninja agreed with their stance. It's hard to tell whether the Ginkaku force was still affiliated with the Hidden Cloud or not, if this theory checks out. Theory C, which is more likely than the others, is that the Ginkaku unit was a group of elite ninja from the Cloud that used to serve under Ginkaku prior to him being disgraced from the village after his assault. Now, I don't understand why they would attack Tobirama's group if they were no longer working for Ginkaku. Maybe the group had some lingering loyalty towards their former leader. It's honestly really difficult to assess why they would target the Hokage, because that would cause political mayhem. So you'd have to assume that the Ginkaku force wasn't affiliated with the Cloud during the assault, and that's the most plausible explanation in my opinion. And now that we've went over all these theories, let me go over what really happened. Since this one panel was basically the main source that people used to push the idea that Ginkaku and Kinkaku weren't part of the Ginkaku force, since if they thought that Tobirama was still alive, then there's no way they could have been part of the unit that eliminated him. So after scouring the internet for the original Japanese manga, I got a close friend of mine to translate what Ginkaku said, and it confirmed the suspicion that I had. The translation he provided to me goes something along the lines of, "Shameful. There's no way guys like us are being affected by the technique of the second Hokage, who we knocked down. Eh, Kinkaku?" This is the kanji in question, referring to the technique. So they were always talking about the jutsu, meaning that they didn't think that Tobirama himself revived them. So this kind of puts theory A to sleep. Tobirama not mentioning the two individuals within the Ginkaku force possessed the Nine Tails chakra could just be him not trying to make matters any worse. I mean, they were already outclassed at the thought of having to face 20 ninja. Now going back to theory C, and I believe that it's the most likely answer. The Ginkaku force was a squad led by Ginkaku and possibly Kinkaku. They originated from the Hidden Cloud until their leaders staged the coup, and then they probably had to defect because of that. That's probably why they went by the Ginkaku unit. And while doing a bit more research, I believe that I've actually found the Ginkaku unit. In the anime, when Ginkaku and Kinkaku were sent to capture the Nine Tails, they were backed up by a squad, a group of cloud ninja led by Ginkaku. Maybe that's why they were able to kill Tobirama, if they could restrain the Nine Tails. Now I can't say for sure if they were the Ginkaku unit, but they fit the profile. I think it was definitely possible that there was a retcon.
I mean, the fact that Tobirama doesn't bring up his previous encounter with them could be enough proof.
As I don't know if Kishimoto intended to have two separate events in which Ginkaku fucked Tobirama up, but both events are too different to assume that they're the same. And like I said, it's likely that Ginkaku was leading the Ginkaku unit. Maybe they wanted to deal with their incomplete job and finish Tobirama off for good. I hope this answered any questions you guys may have had about Tobirama's death or the Ginkaku unit. If you've learned something new today, then be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you next time. Peace.